Jeff Cirillo is at third. Alex Ochoa in left. Juan Uribe, the shortstop. Sal Fasano behind the plate for Mike Hampton. And on the mound for the Giants, a rookie who takes the place of Sean Estes, now on the DL, Ryan Jensen.
Well, this is the guy that they really like here. You look at his numbers, especially the walks that jump out at you. Doesn't walk too many guys, strikes out his share. But his stuff just isn't unbelievable. You look at the scouting report on him. He has 4 pitches. His best pitch is his sinker. But right there, he's got a lot of guts, maybe more guts than he actually has stuff. He needs a little bit of defense to back him up out there, because he will get guys to put the ball in play. And tell you what, I will take a guy on my pitching staff that has the guts to challenge the other team's hitters, especially if he has confidence in his defense.
Speaking of the Giants defensively, without Barry Bonds here today, it'll be Sean Dunston, Calvin Murray, and Eric Davis in the outfield. Pedro Feliz and Andres Gallaraga on the corners. Rich O'Reilly at short. And they're touting Jeff Kent as a potential Gold Glove winning second baseman. A battery of Jensen and Benito Santiago. As always, we remind you this broadcast also available in Spanish by utilizing the SAP button on your television. Juan Pierre leads it off. Shows bunt, and it's strike one, says Greg Gibson. And we're underway. What a year it's been for Pierre. They brought him up for the final month and a half last year. Wondered if he could handle the leadoff job. And has he handled it? Can make an argument he's been the best leadoff man in the National League.
And that's what his teammates think about him. I was in there earlier today, and this team's still pretty loose. Not a whole lot to play for right now. They know they're out of the race, and they were all laughing and looking at Juan Pierre, calling him Mickey Rivers, and saying that that's the best leadoff hitter in the game right now. And he was eating it up. He loves it.
Take a look at his ranks in a number of different categories. Average hits, runs, steals, on base percentage. Second in most of those categories. Most, not all, but most, to Jimmy Rollins, the all-star shortstop in Philadelphia. 2-2 to Pierre.
Well, the thing you like about Pierre is he goes up there, he gives his teammates an opportunity to see what kind of stuff the opposing pitcher has. He's not afraid to take a walk. He'll work the count. Love the higher on-base percentage. 4th in the league. He could probably continue to work on that, but a classic leadoff type hitter, and you're seeing less and less of those type of guys in the game today.
Now, Luis Castillo has done a great job in that role with the Florida Marlins. We've seen him a great deal this year. And Fernando Vina is still a pretty good leadoff hitter for the St. Louis Cardinals, where they've taken off of late. 3-2 now to Pierre.
And Vina, one of those guys that adds the extra element of getting hit by pitch. Loves to stick his elbow out there and let you hit him so he can stand on first base.
Ball 4, so Pierre does his job, and he reaches first to begin the ball game. This is the one area where Buddy Bell told us before the game Pierre needs to improve. He has 35 stolen bases, but he's been thrown out 12 times. He's still learning a lot of the pitcher's moves.
Yeah, he really is. And I mean, and it's tough just to come up through the minor league system where they don't pay a whole lot of attention to you. You can fly around the bases. You can steal tons of bases in the minor leagues when they don't worry about you. Then you come to the major league level. They start slide stepping on you. They pay attention. They throw over 3 and 4 times. The catchers have better arms. Much tougher to steal bases up at this level.
Here he goes on the first pitch. Throw by Santiago is not going to be in time, and give Pierre his 36th stolen base of the season.
Now let's check out the jump. Real good jump right there. Go on first pitch. A lot of guys like to move first or second pitch, and then Santiago throwing from the knee. Looked like he had a little bit of trouble throwing that ball. But boy, you remember Benito Santiago in the younger days, the arrogant, the real flashy days of Benito Santiago when he threw from his knees and would gun you down in a heartbeat.
Fouled out of play by Jose Ortiz. Ortiz came over on the 25th of July in that 3-way deal along with Oakland and Kansas City. That's a trade that sent Jermaine Dye to the A's. Napi Perez from Colorado to Kansas City. Ortiz came from the A's here, and he had a great August. I mean, take a look at that.
Well, they just think the upside of Ortiz may be better than Napi Perez, but the intangible with Perez was his clubhouse leadership and the way he took the other Latin players under his wing, and was a great director, a great father figure for the other Latin players on the team, and they're going to miss that.
One and two.
Now, Tom, I wanted to take a second look at this throw by Santiago. Watch him come off his knees, but watch the way he releases the ball. look at him, his shoulder and his elbow right there really looks like he's sore, or might have popped something in, or didn't look good right there. He's not motioning to the dugout or asking out of the game, but that did not look natural.
No, it did not. In fact, he threw out Steve Finley a couple of nights ago for Arizona on a rocket throw to second base. Fly ball into right. Tagging up is Juan Pierre. Here's a throw by Davis. It's cut off. So good solid base running there by Juan Pierre. He's at third with only one out in the inning, and the big boys coming up.
Like, great instincts right there by Pierre for two reasons. Number one, you can make that play because of his speed on a fairly shallow ball hit to right. But the other thing is that doing your homework with this Rocky team knows that Davis has had shoulder problems on both sides and doesn't throw nearly as well as he used to.
A good job by Ortiz as well to hit the ball to the right side. Granted, it was in the air to right field, but it moved the runner along. So now the Rockies with Pierre at third and Larry Walker the batter. Chopped foul. Walker having a monster season, and that's generally the case when he's able to play. The oft-injured All-Star hitting at .346, 33 home runs, 108 batted in. The Giants conceding the run at third, and this will score the run from third. Walker bounces out to the second baseman Kemp. Pierre scores, and that's manufacturing a run there by Colorado.
And Larry Walker is one of those guys that clearly understands what his job is to drive in runs any way he can. So when he comes up with a guy on third base, I can guarantee he's not walking. He is up there hacking. His strike zone gets a little more liberal. He's willing to swing at a pitch that might be a little bit further out of the zone in order to drive in that guy from third.
Now Todd Helton. He's on pace to have an even better season this year than he did last year, and most people felt there's no way he could back up the numbers from a season ago. Already 44 doubles, most in the major leagues, 40 home runs, 41 now, and 123 batted in.
Well, in this era of guys with open stances, a la Luis Gonzalez of the Diamondbacks, watch how Helton is kind of a throwback player with a close stance and strides towards home plate. Stands very close to home plate. Really is a derivative of playing at Coors Field with the right field area that's like a jet stream into right field. Helton likes to stand on top of the plate. Even though he uses the entire field, he likes to stand on top of the plate and kind of hook balls into right center field because of the jet stream in Coors Field, where the ball just flies out of there.
3-1. Big swing and a miss. Good off-speed pitch here by the youngster Ryan Jensen, and the count is full. Get a look at the numbers since the break this year. 18 points shy of a .400 batter and 39 runs batted in.
You can't say bad out of Helton on TV, can you?
Why not? I didn't say it. You did. You just got away with it. Of course, we're going to a break. You might be getting a phone call. Early 1-0 Colorado lead. Johnny B. Dusty Baker, the manager of the San Francisco Giants. And here's his starting lineup, brought to you by Coors Light. Calvin Murray leads off in center field. Rich Aurelia just having a sensational season as a short. Jeff Kent, the second baseman. Andres Gallaraga at first. Eric Davis in right. Benito Santiago catching. A ladder third of Sean Dunston. Pedro Feliz and Ryan Jensen. And they'll be facing 13-game winner Mike Hampton.
Hampton done pretty much what they asked him to do when they got here. You look at the ERA right there of 5.14, and some people might say, well, that's kind of high, but let's not forget where he pitches his home games. Check out the scouting report. The hard sinker and maybe the best cutter from any lefty in the game. He throws the curve only to left-handers now. A lot of people remember the big looping curveball that he used to have, but once again, Coors Field, a little tougher to get the bite on that curveball and doesn't throw it as much anymore, and generally tries to just sweep it away from left-handed hitters now.
Calvin Murray has been getting most of the playing time in center field since he was called up from the minor leagues back in June to replace Marvin Bernard, although Bernard has played so well of late that he's getting a bit more time. 2-1 to Murray. Hampton has always owned the Giants, and I mean owned it. Popped up right side of the infield. The call and a catch by Ortiz. Hampton will be trying to improve on his 11-1 record against San Francisco.
That's owning them.
Alex Ochoa, Juan Pierre, and the 5-time Gold Glove winning right fielder Larry Walker in the outfield. Cirillo, Uribe, Ortiz, and Helton third to first. That's a new middle infield from where they began the year. Hampton and Fasano the batter. And there are those numbers against the Giants. That's in 18 regular season appearances, 15 starts. But he has not pitched well in this ballpark, including his postseason start that he lost to the Giants last year. 1-2 here at Pac-Bell Park and an ERA just under 7.
And this is a guy that, clearly has come into his own in the last couple seasons. When he was with Houston, he went to the Mets, and then, of course, made the decision to come to Colorado. They gave him a lot of money, but you look at it since 1999, when you think about the great pitchers in the game, he's third in most wins behind just Maddox and Johnson. Won 50 games since 1999. Maddox with 55, Johnson with 54 and counting.
Boy, Maddox and Johnson are better than ever. They just keep on going, even to their late 30s. Hampton's only 28. 2-0 on Aurelia. That one sails high and away. Aurelia with 29 home runs, 81 runs batted in. We showed you a moment ago. Has the third most RBIs in the National League since the break. Third only to Sammy Sosa and Sean Green of the Dodgers. 3-1 to Aurelia.
And Rich will tell you that, one of the big reasons of his production is where he hits in the lineup, in front of Bonds when he's in there, in front of Kent today. He knows that he's going to get better pitches to hit. And he says it's not about you just sitting back there seeing fastballs all day long, but he says when you're supposed to see a fastball, you get one. 2-0, 3-1. That's when I'm going to see a fastball, and that's when I hammer it. I still have to work the count to get to a favorable position for me.
See, going right by all of his prior career highs. I don't think the home run should come as any big surprise. I mean, this is now 3 straight years of hitting 20 or more home runs.
And once again, another one of those guys where you see him on TV, or you sit up here in the press box and you watch him and you say, well, shoot, he's just a little shortstop. Well, go up and stand next to him.
Oh, yeah.
He's 6 feet tall. He's put together pretty good, like a lot of the hitters in today's game. It's not like when I played just 7 years ago, there were fat guys like me. Not anymore.
Kent looked to ball one down and in. Kent at 296, 18 home runs and 85 runs batted in. That's in 132 games. Last year, Kent had 85 RBIs at the All-Star break. So while when you look at his numbers, the batting average is good, the home runs are good, that one's fouled away. 85 RBIs, which means he's probably going to knock in more than 100. But I think Jeff would tell you himself, he has come to bat with more runners on base than any player in the major leagues this season. They should be over 100 now.
Yeah, and I bet he would tell you that. But is it fair for us also to judge what he does this year based on his MVP numbers of last year?
Good question. What do you think?
I think that's what generally happens to ball players, and maybe one of the bigger complaints that a player will have is that, hey, I'm a consistent player, and then I jump out there and have one of my best years, and then you want to compare me to my best year for the rest of the years after that.
Yeah, but you know what the fan at home says,
do it again.
Well, they say do it again. And then they say, well, when you walk in there to negotiate a contract, you're negotiating that contract on that MVP year.
Sure.
So can you have it both ways? 2-2 now to Kent.
And we certainly see guys that have a 4-year deal for a ton of money, and their contract comes up and they have not had as good a years in those last 3 and still negotiate deals for much, much more money just because of the economics of the game and the way they've changed.
Low and into Kent, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Hampton struggling a little bit with his control here in the early going. And something he's avoided his last 2 starts. Well, he's gone 13 innings and allowed only 4 earned runs in his last 13 innings.
Marcel Latchman, the pitching coach of Colorado.
Runner goes, strike 3, and now they have Aurelia and a run down. The throw to Helton, and that'll end the inning. A strike him out, throw him out, double play. End of 1. The Rockies lead 1-0. You're watching Fox Sports, the home of the series. Back after a break from your local station. What happened there to end the first?
Well, that was a funny play where you saw Richie really get thrown out so badly, but I think this was a run and hit play. It's a 3-2 count. Jeff Kent thought it was ball 4. Aurelia's running, can't get picked off, so he gets a lousy jump. Basically what you're trying to do is put your runners in motion, banking that your hitter's going to put the ball in play. Kent thought it was ball 4. He was going to walk. It ended up being strike 3, and that's why Aurelia got thrown out so badly. There's no way it had gotten thrown out by 50 feet if it was a straight steal, or if it was a regular hit and run play where Kent had to swing this bat. But because it was a 3-2 count, you don't want to take the bat out of his hands on ball 4.
Here we go in the second inning. It'll be Cirillo, Alex Ochoa, and Juan Uribe against the right-hander Ryan Jensen. Colorado scored in the opening inning without a base hit. A walk to Pierre, who stole second. A fly ball got him to third, and a ground out scored him. 1-0 to Cirillo. A .310 batter, 14 home runs, 65 batted in. On the outside edge, 1-1. Cirillo, a good, solid, dependable player. Not going to hit a lot of home runs, but year in and year out, you can mark it down. He will drive in some runs and hit better than 300.
Play some D for you as well. Yeah, one of those guys early in his career, it was pretty well documented that, I don't know who he told the story to, but I bet he regrets it, talking about sleeping with his bat when he was a kid and coming up through the minor leagues. That's some dedication to the game.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think his wife likes that too much, but
in the air off the end of the bat. And Kent on the outfield grass makes a play, 1 gone. Alex Ochoa starting for the 31st time in the 33 games since he came over on July the 19th from Cincinnati. The majority of those coming in left, a dozen out and right. 281 batters, 7 homers, 46 knocked in. Left field has been a real hole in this Colorado lineup this season.
Had 9 different guys play out there, and most of them had a tough time playing. And people don't understand how tough it is to play in Colorado, how big that outfield is, and how well the ball jumps there. If you don't have some guys that can play defense in Colorado, you will lose games. And if you talk to this coaching staff, they'll tell you that they have lost games based on their outfield play, and maybe as many as double-digit numbers of games because of the way they played in the outfield. This guy will help.
0-2 on Ochoa. What we were talking about, the left field situation. They had Ron Gann and Todd Hollinsworth, the former Dodger Rookie of the Year, platooning out there when the season began, and Hollinsworth was off to a great start, and then one of the most bizarre injuries of the year. He fouled off a pitch on the inside of his leg, just under the knee, in the second week of May. He has never returned. They thought it might be a nerve problem, soft tissue problem. Then they find out that he had a fracture in there. They just took the cast off, but it looks like Hollinsworth is not going to return.
They were really banking on him too. They liked the way he played. They liked the start he got off to, that's for sure. And it was a guy that they really had to have big problems trying to fill his shoes to get another guy out there to play the position and to have the offensive production that he was having.
Crowd on a play by Ochoa. It's still 0-2.
We talked earlier about the middle infield situation and Uribe taking over at short for Neifi Perez, and really sent shock waves through this dugout and through the locker room of that team when Neifi was traded, because he was such a great influence in the clubhouse. One of the guys that's picking up the slack, especially for the Latin players, is this guy Alex Ochoa.
He was very popular with his teammates in Cincinnati, and they feel the same way about him in Colorado.
Perez now with Kansas City, you know, you just cannot go through the clubhouse and bring up his name without someone telling you another. Whoa.
Swing and a miss, and the bat goes flying into the stands. Thankfully, it landed in one of the aisles.
That guy wasn't even watching when that bat came flying by either. You got to get some pine tar for this bat. Just lets it fly, and watch the guy. He's got his back turned. Didn't even know it was coming at him. Thank you. I'll take that. I'll have a seat. Got to get some ketchup for this. Woo, look out. It amazes me at Major League ballparks how often that those bats don't hit anybody. Of course, I'm thankful for that, but it is amazing. Screaming line drive foul balls, bats.
Well, look at that little girl. Oh, thank goodness.
Because that batting helmet she's wearing right there wouldn't be very protective.
Boy, is that cute as can be. That little hat she's wearing, that looks like your little Alexandra, for crying out loud.
Yeah, a couple years ago.
Right, exactly.
She's getting big now. Might be her first ball game. On Daddy's hot dog.
0-2 on Juan Uribe. And it's low, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Uribe hitting at .298. 2 home runs and 29 runs batted in the month of August. He hit .340. That was 10th best among all National Leaguers. I think there are those, Buddy Bell included, that are surprised how well this young man has done. They knew he would be a good player. I'm not sure they thought he would be this good. Yeah, the all-around play that he showed so far. He's got a little pop in his bat. Some pretty good discipline at the plate. He said his defense is going to be outstanding. He says great range, great hands. And getting back to the Perez story, he said one of the kids that Perez took under his wing was this kid. Taught him what it was like to be a major leaguer, how to approach his game. He said his work habits are outstanding. 2-2 on Uribe. And that one down the left field line, hooking foul and out of play. And there's a boot. You got to make that play if you're playing down the left field line. Especially with a glove. I mean, barehanded, you understand, not with a glove. Take a look at this swing from the side. This is a hanging curveball that Uribe will get just a little bit out in front. Watch it pull his hands with him, and now he doesn't have as much, and he's out in front of that ball. His weight shifted out this way a little bit more than we like to see. We like to see a straight line, being able to draw right through the guy. And that's just getting out in front of a ball that fooled him a little bit, pulled his hands with him a little bit, and then by the time he actually got to swing at it, too far out in front and pulled that ball down the line. You can't keep it fair if you don't keep your hands back. 2-2 again on Uribe. Swing and a miss, and Jensen has a 1-2-3 second inning with a couple of strikeouts. The Giants bat after an inning and a half, trailing by a run. Baseball's postseason unfolds right here on Fox. 8 of baseball's best duke it out in the AL and NL Division Series on both Fox and the Fox Family Channel. Then the drama of the NLCS and the ALCS, all the way to the crowning of the 2001 World Series champion. There's exclusively right here on Fox, and it gets underway October the 2nd. The Giants hope to be playing then. Colorado would just like to ruin things for everybody inside their own division. A number of games not only against San Francisco for Colorado, but also against Arizona and the Dodgers. And the former Rocky, Gallaraga, lines one in the second. That bounces right to the right fielder Walker, and Gallaraga slams on the brakes. That ball may have hit Juan Pierre in the shoulder of the head. Ball looked like it hit him right in the noggin on a bounce. Does Pierre get an assist on this somehow, getting the ball back in? Watch as he dives. That ball hit him right off the Colorado Rockies insignia on his head. Right now he's thinking, I should not be diving for this ball. The ball, I mean, hey, kick saving a beauty. Do it any way you can. Goes right to Walker, who's hustling in to make the play as well. That's got to hurt you a little bit, but Pierre didn't rub it because he didn't want anyone to know that's what actually happened. But, you know, they show it on the replay here at the stadium, too, so everyone knows when something bad happens to you. There's Walker right there, hustled right over there, got the ball and threw it back in. But that could have been easily a double for Gallaraga. Now Eric Davis, and he takes inside, ball 1. Now sometimes as an outfielder, you're hustling in to try to make a play. You're thinking you can dive for it. And then right about here, he's saying, oops, I made a mistake in judgment right there. I can't get this ball
Heads up by Pierre and heads up by Walker. One guy's head doesn't hurt quite as much, though, after making the play.
Right. 1-0 to Davis. And now ball and a strike to the 39-year-old native of Los Angeles, California. This will be Davis's final season in the major leagues. 16 years since coming up with Cincinnati. Won a World Series ring with the Reds in 1990, and many, when he first came up, compared him to Willie Mays. Hit more than 30 home runs, stole 80 bases in a season, had one of the biggest home runs certainly in Reds franchise history in 1990 when in game 1 of the World Series that year against the heavily favored A's. In the first inning, he hit a home run off Dave Stewart, and the Reds, of course, swept mighty Oakland.
Now the wear and tear of the number of years and the way he played the game has caught up with him. Shoulder problems this year. Still a physical specimen. I mean, this guy, not a whole lot of body fat on him at 39 years old. You look at the lineup that the Giants throwing out there today with Gallaraga on first base right now at 40 years old. Jeff Kent, 34 years old. Davis, 39. Santiago, 37, and that's what he admits to. Sometimes you're not sure how old some of these guys are. Sean Dunston, late 30s, 37 years old. A lot of talk around baseball about how old the Diamondbacks are, but right now, today's Giants lineup, it's like a seniors game.
Well, and bear in mind, Barry Bonds is sitting down, and he's 37.
Sean Dunston, we got a quick look at him right there. Also one of the older guys on the club. Experience, they would say.
3-2 to Davis. Struck him out swinging. Second of the game by Mike Hampton. Gallaraga at first, one away, and Santiago coming up.
Here's where age will catch up with you. You see how low he holds his hands. Hampton with still a pretty good fastball. Tough to catch up with this fastball up and away. You see just a little bit late as the ball squeaks by Davis, and he wasn't able to catch up with him. Of course, Eric Davis would tell you, I was trying to protect against a possible breaking ball. I was looking for a fastball. I wasn't sure what I was going to get. I wasn't sitting dead red. You're not always going to be right on top of it. A guy like me will sit up here and just for my own purposes will say, well, he's getting older. His bat was a little slow on that one.
Now Benito Santiago, and he looks at a strike. What a valuable member of the Giants Benito Santiago has turned out to be. No one wanted this guy. He did not have a team to play for until there were 2 weeks to go in spring training. And the Giants weren't sure about Bobby Estalella. They weren't sure about Doug Mirabelli. Both played very well last year, but weren't all that comfortable with that duo again. They gave Santiago a try. And for most of this year, as it goes to 1-1, he has had to play with virtually no backup. Edwards Guzman has been the backup catcher of this team, and he has very little catching experience.
Very little catching experience and very little catching time because they didn't have a third catcher. So you couldn't take Santiago out of the game late in the game and put Guzman in, because if then he got hurt, you were stuck with nobody.
Hampton knocks down the line drive, recovers, and throws in time to get Santiago. Hampton among the best athletes, and not just among pitchers. He's among the best athletes, period, in the major leagues today.
And that was a bullet hit back at Hampton, too. Great reaction time. This is going to give you a good angle of it. This is what you call chuck and duck. Wow, that almost took his whole body out right there. He got his glove on it, scampered over to make the play. From home plate here, you see how quickly that ball gets back on him. Wow, knocked it down. You talk about the third baseman knocking it down and throwing him out. The ball caught him.
You got to charge that ball.
I know, if you charged it, it would have made the play much easier.
Now Sean Dunston, a .288 batter, 7 homers, 20 batted in. He's played solid baseball this season. A little bit of everywhere for the Giants. He looks at a strike, and he's one of the real comedians still in baseball today. Loves having a good time and still plays so hard. He's a great example for all players, not just young players. All players. Full foul. The Giants were just in Phoenix over the weekend. They got beat the first 2 games. Then hammered Arizona in the 3rd game. And look at Dunston doing his Dusty Baker impersonation in the dugout.
With the glasses. He's got Dusty's wristbands on. One of the things, and even Dusty got a kick out of it, one of the things that can really help a team at this time of the year, especially when you're fighting for a pennant, is a guy that will keep you loose in the clubhouse day in and day out.
1-2 to Dunston.
A lot more fun playing this game when you can laugh about it every day than when you're so tight you don't know what's going on. You got to be able to come to the ballpark, relax, and play.
Tying run at second base is Gallaraga, 2 away in the inning. 1-0 Rockies here in the last of the 2nd. And Hampton delivers. Blowing away 2-2.
One of the things that Sean Dunston has talked about all year long is the adjustment that he's had in his last few years to being a bench player. And he's talking about pinch hitting and being a bench player, the hardest job in the game. I could have told him that. I did it for my entire career, but a lot of those guys that play every day don't really understand how tough it is to be a guy who's not playing every day. And he has conquered that role, really, having a nice season for this team, hitting over 280, up around the 290, 300 area, being a guy off the bench. A lot of people don't understand. In fact, a lot of guys that play the game don't understand how hard that is to do.
Swing and a miss, and that'll end the inning. 1 hit, 1 left. Juan Pierre took it off the noggin, but no damage done. We're back after a break from your local Fox station. Sellout crowd on hand here today. The Rockies getting 5 runs in the opening inning last night, held on to win 5-2. They scored a run in the opening inning here today and lead 1-0. And it's strike 1 to Sal Fasano. He'll be followed by the pitcher Mike Hampton and then center fielder Juan Pierre. Fasano appearing in his 19th game since joining the Rockies. Fouled back just underneath our booth.
Yeah, and I see you getting out of the way of that ball
that
again.
That baby came back to eat. You weren't all that interested in getting that either.
I was
give me
reaching for it. I had to cross past you.
Come on.
To reach past you.
The ball was over there for crying out loud.
I'm reaching past you to try to get it, and you're going this way.
Ball's hustle.
How am I going to catch anything?
Well, I'm trying to protect you. Fasano gone swinging. And that's a 3rd straight strikeout for Ryan Jensen, his 4th overall. Today's aerial coverage is being provided by the Monster.com blimp. Monster.com is a proud sponsor of the 2002 Olympic Winter Games and the 2002 U.S. Olympic team. Monster.com. Job good, life good. Here's where optical illusion, where you always say the water looks like it's higher than the stadium.
Yes, it does. It's not. But when you see that, doesn't this water look like it's way higher than the stadium? It's like if you poked a hole in the fence right here, everything would just come crashing through. Here comes the water. Everyone would have to just run away. That's not true. The water's below the stadium.
It's where Barry Bonds hit number 57 last night out in McCovey Cove.
You know, there's a new directive out here that all these boats in this area from here in have to be non-motorized. Can't bring a motorized boat in there anymore.
Hampton with 7 homers on the year, rolls 1 to short, and Aurelia throws him out 2 away. Yeah, the kayakers.
And it gives them a better chance to get those splashdown homers without some motorboat barreling over them with a big net.
Well, here comes Juan Pierre. It's good to see he's doing all right. We asked him the other day, you know, your family back in Louisiana, you weren't a high draft pick. Your family back there, are they surprised you're in the major leagues? And here's what he had to say.
You know, my mom, she still can't believe it. You know, every day she sees me on TV or something, she still really can't believe it. And all the people back home are, you know, because I wasn't, you know, a big draft choice. I know I took my lumps. You know, I had to prove myself at every level, you know, because I wasn't physically strong and things like that. But, yeah, they can't believe that I'm actually here and, you know, having a little success along the way.
He's a delightful young man to talk to.
And one of the biggest reasons is because he can't believe that he's here. He's stopped to enjoy it. He works hard every day. He doesn't take anything for granted, and he loves being here.
Ground ball, right side. Kent gobbles it up, throws out Pierre. And Ryan Jensen has retired 9 in a row. It was a leadoff walk to Pierre that's led to the only run of the game. Seen the young ladies already today. It looks like a young man right there, doesn't it, Steve? With
Yes,
a red cap. Oh, would you get your daughter a red cap? Did you ever get your daughter a red cap? Pink, yeah. Red?
No, pink.
Okay, but not red.
The boy's wearing a red cap.
Okay.
You were right.
Well,
I know you don't have. I know if it was a dog, you'd know.
That's about right. Swing and a miss, 1-1. That's for sure. They have high hopes for Pedro Feliz in the future. They think he's going to be an outstanding player. Last year in the minor leagues, he knocked in over 100 runs. And he's playing down the stretch every day for the Giants here in 2001. 1-2 to Feliz.
When you look at that last graphic, obviously gets more at-bats against right-handed hitters, but he's going to have to improve those numbers against righties. He's munching up on the lefties. Far fewer at-bats against left-handed pitching, but he's going to face far more right-handers as his career goes on. He's going to have to improve in that area.
Only 24 years young is Feliz. That one sails away 2-2. He had 33 home runs and 105 knocked in at Fresno. And there you get a look. With more playing time, more experience, his numbers continue to climb. Payoff pitch on the ground to third. Backing up is Cirillo. He's not made an error since June. One away in the inning. Next week on Fox Saturday Baseball, presented by Toyota. Red Hot Sean Green leads the Dodgers against Jim Edmonds and the Redbirds as both teams battle for the wild card. Where Chipper Jones and the Braves take on Sammy and the Cubs. It all begins with This Week in Baseball next Saturday, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific. And the Lions charter plane will be taking him to Busch Stadium next week. There it is, circling, just waiting for this one to end and pick you up.
I have to shoot down the Red Baron on my way, though. There's your ride. Monster.com.
That's it. 0-2, the count on Ryan Jensen. 2 of 9 as a batter since coming up from the minor leagues. He's been up and down all year long. But I tell you, he has pitched wonderfully for the Giants since coming back into the rotation. In 4 major league starts, his last 4. Only a 1-2 record, but an ERA of 3.15. Swing and a miss, and that's out number 2 in the Giants' 3rd inning. Now, which would you rather fly in?
Yeah, that's a toss-up for me, I got to tell you.
What do you mean?
Those little planes bump around a lot. Monster.com looks a little smoother up there, a little more my speed. There you go. Kayak my way in. The luxury liner.
The Lions yacht when we're in San Francisco. And we're here a lot.
I know, we don't need a lot of transportation here. We should just get an apartment.
High and away to Calvin Murray, ball 1. And we're going to be here in a couple of weeks from now. The renewal of that great rivalry. The Giants and the Dodgers. 2 weeks from today. 1-0 to Murray. And it's outside and low. By the way, a lot of Giant fans scoreboard watching this time of year. In fact, there are a number of fans of a number of teams scoreboard watching. The Cubs beat Atlanta earlier today 5-3. So the Cubs have picked up a half game on the Giants in a wild card, as it's 2-1 to Murray. And it's a full 2 games. Now the Cubs lead the Giants. But this is going to be some kind of race to watch. With the Cardinals involved, the Dodgers, Philadelphia, or Atlanta. Atlanta losing again, giving Philadelphia another chance to tie atop the East. 3-1. And you and I were talking before the game today, Steve. I know a lot of people out west have not seen Philadelphia a great deal. But if the Phillies could get any kind of production out of their setup relievers, their bullpen, or their long guys to get the ball to Jose Mason, they might have a 3-4-5 game lead over Atlanta right now in the East.
Really struggled the middle relief department. Their young pitchers have come through for them. Swing the bats. Look at the NL East standings with Atlanta with a half a game lead over Philly right now.
Well, Bobby Valentine said day before yesterday the Mets are back in the hunt. And now with the unbalanced schedule, a lot of people may have been a bit skeptical over those comments by Valentine. But when you look at the schedule, he's not far from telling the truth. Swing and a miss by Murray, and that'll end the inning. 5 strikeouts through 3 innings for Mike Hampton. We go to the 4th. 1-0 Colorado. Right got him a third, and a ground out by Walker scored him. 1-0 on Jose Ortiz. Swing and a miss. 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, you don't want guys on base when Walker and Helton come up. The two combined have knocked in 231 runs this season. But of course, they've had some bangers in the past in Colorado Rockies franchise history.
Yeah, that can't be the most runs driven in by any 2 guys on one team. I got to think that the guy that's playing first base for the Giants right now, who was part of the Blake Street Bombers, Andres Gallaraga, Dante Bichette, when he had his huge years, they had to drive in more runs than those 2 guys, haven't they?
You're exactly right. Not only have they knocked in the most runs this season by any teammates in Major League Baseball, those 2 guys hold the Rockies franchise record. Gallaraga and Bichette.
Rockies were afraid that Gallaraga might be getting a little bit too old at 40 years old. Went on to have productive seasons with the Braves and went over to Texas. Wasn't playing all that well and was a shot in the arm to these Giants when he got here.
Short right center field. Murray coming on, and he's got. And if you're wondering, by the way, those 2 have knocked in 231 runs. And you were exactly right, Steve. It was Gallaraga and Bichette who knocked in 291 runs. That would be the most in Rockies franchise history. But I got a feeling Walker and Helton are going to break that. They would need big months, really big.
I was talking to Toby Hara, and certainly one of the coaches here for the Colorado Rockies, and he said that Larry Walker is the best all-around player that he's ever seen. And Toby Hara been around the game for a lot of years. And when you talk about 5-tool players, and when you talk about the way Walker plays and how hard he plays, there's not a whole lot of argument going on.
Well, the only problem is keeping Walker healthy. We talked about that earlier. When this guy plays, he is just a spectacular player. And so fundamentally sound.
Great instincts for a guy who didn't want to play baseball. His favorite sport's hockey. He's a Canadian-born player. Didn't even want to play baseball, just hung out and did it. One of the best base runners in the game. Tremendous throwing arm, great speed. Made a catch here last night, going into that right center field gap, backhanding the ball, going full tilt towards the wall.
Swing and a miss. Looked like a good arch slider of some kind, breaking ball down and in on the left-handed batting Walker.
Well, they talk about the stuff that Jensen has. This is a breaking ball. Drops down on it a little bit. Drops down towards that back knee, which is the toughest pitch, in my opinion, for a left-handed hitter to hit, is a down and in slider. Takes a lot of guts to throw it in there, because if you miss, it becomes a hanging fastball on the inside part of the plate. Walker can take you into McCovey Cove in a heartbeat.
3-2 the count on Walker, and he fouls it out of play.
Now Walker now with a good push here in the last month of the season could qualify for the batting title. Hitting at 345 right now. You need 502 at-bats in order to get there.
He's already won 2 of those in 98 and in 99 with the Rockies. 3-2 pitch. Chop foul. The last time Walker played in 150 or more games, he was the landslide winner for the National League's most valuable player. That was in 97. He has not played more than 130 games since then.
I correct myself on the batting title qualifications. It's plate appearances rather than at-bats. Take consideration your walks and anytime you show up at the dish. So he should be able to get there this year if he stays healthy the rest of the season.
Time to take a look at our RadioShack.com trivia question. Which player with 500 career home runs or more has hit the most inside the park home runs? Interesting question. Give you a little bit of time to think about it. Here's Todd Helton, 1 on, 1 out. Walker only the second Rocky to reach against Jensen today, and both have reached via the base on balls. Walker very much a base stealing threat, has 12 of those in 15 attempts. Fastball away.
And that's one of the surprising things about Larry Walker when you look at him, how big he is. I mean, he's 6'3", goes about 240, 245. A little deceptive, but very solid, very thick. But the speed and his quickness for a big guy is what really amazes you, and probably one of the most impressive things about him, in my opinion.
Walker bluffs going, and a pitch taken a strike.
First time I had ever seen him play, I was with the Braves in '92, sharing the spring training complex with the Expos. And I hit a ball down the right field line that I thought was a sure double, and he threw me out by 2 steps going into second. I stood up and I said, "Oh, that's Larry Walker."
1-1 to Helton. And he puts a charge into one into right center field, but Davis has room out there. The deepest part of the ballpark with 421 feet to the wall. Walker retreats. 2 down in the inning. They've gotten in on him a little bit there. Either that or off the end of the bat, because when he first hit it, I thought he hit it pretty well.
Yeah, just in on his hands that time, I think. As we talked about earlier, how he stands so close to the plate and he dives a little bit. Look at that front foot coming in. That's a breaking ball that, yeah, maybe got out on the end of the bat, got out and around that ball a little bit more than he wanted to, and didn't quite put the big charge into it. Big, big right field. 421 into that corner. Ball's probably a home run in Colorado. Don't have to hit it nearly as well. And the ball jumps into that right center field gap at Coors Field. Look at one of the reasons that Calvin Murray is playing center field today. Marvin Bernard, who has had a little resurgence on this team, trades time with Murray, but you have got Dunston in left and Davis in right, 2 of the older guys. Dunston's had an ankle problem. Davis has had physical problems. You need somebody in that outfield that's going to cover the ground, and Murray's by far the best defensive center fielder on this team.
Strike called on the outside corner to Jeff Cirillo, who popped up to Ken his first time up. We talked about Cirillo. He has certainly been a mark of consistency over the last 4 years. You throw in 2001, where he's knocked in 65 with a month to go and a .310 hitter. Aurelia will go the short way to Kent for the forced play on Walker, and that'll retire the side. Colorado still without a hit, but the Rockies have a 1-0 lead.
Remember?
Welcome back to Pac Bell Park. 1-0. Colorado leading the Giants. And here's Rich Aurelia. He walked his first time up, was thrown out in a rundown play between first and second base to end the opening inning. Aurelia 29 home runs, 20 last year, 22 the season before that. Initially came up and backed up Sean Dunston, Jose Vizcaíno, Ray Sanchez, among others. And we asked him if having to sit the bench helped him become a better player.
I tried to learn while I was watching the game, as opposed to going out there and learning by making mistakes. I still make mistakes out there, and I learn from that. But I think the years that I spent backing people up and being a utility guy were pretty important for me to learn the game. Who knows if I would have played earlier, if I would have had this type of success or the type of years that I've had.
One of the things you got to give a guy like Aurelia credit for, too, is that a lot of guys get tabbed as a utility player when they come up, and that's all they're able to do. They back up guys, and someone in the organization says, yeah, he does a good job doing that, but he's never going to be the #1 guy. And they keep trying to bring guys in front of you. He continued to improve, played very well with the opportunities that he got, and finally, someone had to say, look, this should be our #1 guy. And you look with the kind of damage that he's been able to do since he has been the #1 shortstop.
2-1 on the ground in the hole at short, and Uribe throws in time. Aurelia retired to begin the 4th inning. Both pitchers on top of their game early on here today. Jensen has gone 4 innings, not allowed a hit. He's fanned 4 and walked 2. And for Mike Hampton, his 3rd impressive start in a row.
One of the things that we should continue to look for with Mike Hampton as this game goes on, and especially with Jeff Kent coming to the plate, is his ability to spot his fastball on both sides of the plate, run that cutter in on the hands on the right-handed hitters. Sal Fasano was saying Hampton is one of those guys that you have to stay on.
Fly ball straight away center. Pierre will use a glove rather than the head. 2 away. Well, now it's time to answer our RadioShack.com trivia question. Which player with 500 career home runs or more has hit the most inside the park home runs? The answer may surprise you, Steve Lyons. Babe.
Well, wasn't there an era in baseball during Babe's time where if the ball bounced over the fence, it was still considered a home run? If it got stuck in the fence and you couldn't throw them out in time, it was a home run? There was that time. I know you're looking at me with that dumb look on your face, like you don't know, but yes, there was an era in baseball back in that time where if the ball just ended up out of the stadium, it was a home run.
Well, I knew that. I didn't realize. I had not heard the part about sticking in the fence before.
There were some bad fences back then.
There must have been. That one in the air out of play. That's why I gave you that.
Before the invention of the ground rule double.
Look of mine.
Well, I've seen that look many, many times.
It happens on a regular basis, day in and day out. Log on to RadioShack.com and play baseball trivia. Enter to win a trip to the 2002 All-Star Game in Milwaukee. Radio Shack, official sponsor of Major League Baseball. 1-1 to the Big Cat.
I like hearing stories when you talk to a catcher like Fasano, and he said, you can't be afraid of an established pitcher, a guy like Mike Hampton. And he said he is one of those guys that, it's not like he lacks understanding of what he wants to do, but he just sometimes needs a little kick in the rear end to keep his concentration on what he is and what they are as a team trying to accomplish out there. He said, so I have to stay on Hampton. I want him to establish his fastball inside. He needs to work both sides of the plate. He can't get away with just throwing the ball away from guys. I want to bury right-handed hitters sometimes.
On the ground to the shortstop, Uribe. And the throw is in time, and Hampton getting lots of ground balls. And that's his M.O. We go to the 5th, still a 1-0 Colorado lead. When they got up this morning and threw that baby up on top of the car, then jumped in the frigid water. And Barry's not in there. First pitch swinging is Alex Ochoa here in the Rockies' 5th inning. The Giants have been shut out on 1 hit by Mike Hampton. The Rockies have scored 1 run without a base hit.
I like for Ochoa to drop down a bunt.
And there is a first base hit as Ochoa shoots one into right field.
How about brotherly love right here on the foul ball? kid in the red shirt just says, "Get out of my way." Neither one of them got it.
They're pointing at the kid who did. Let me go rough him up.
No, I'm good right now. Maybe a little bit.
Now Juan Uribe in a throw over to first. Now Ochoa can run. He has 16 stolen bases on the year, but he's been thrown out 11 times. Ryan Jensen taking over the spot in the Giant rotation for Sean Estes, who won 15 games last season. Swung on and fouled back out of play. Estes this year 8-8.
Jensen, for a big guy, is fairly quick to home plate. Makes it a little tougher to steal on, but can get himself in trouble working on the slide step, trying to be a little quicker. That pitch right there, he was upset with himself because he kind of hung it, worrying about who's on first base. As a pitcher, you can't alter your delivery so much that you start throwing flatter, fatter pitches to hit just because there's a guy that might run.
They pitch out, runner goes, thrown down to second base, and the throw is high, but it's in time to get Ochoa. So Dusty Baker guesses right.
Now this is one of those times where you get thrown out. You talked about the percentage that he has, not great, but it was a great jump here. If they don't pitch out, they don't get him. This is going to be a very close play, even though it was a pitch out. Santiago stepping up out of the box, still got a great throwing arm. The ball was up. A nice tag by Kent. Watch him come out of the box there, pitch out, great throw to throw on. I still don't think Santiago's throwing the ball the way he'd really like to. Really short arming it out there. I don't know if he's sore or...
Well, I can tell you, Steve, for sure. I mean, I think you're right on the money here. I saw Santiago play 3 games earlier this week in Arizona, and he threw the ball much better in those games than he is here today. Uribe lifts one into short right center field. Who wants it? Calvin Murray takes charge for out number 2. If there is one guy outside, of course, of Barry Bonds, but if there's one guy the Giants just cannot lose to any kind of injury right now, it is Santiago. And if somebody would have said that to you back in, well, at the end of March, early April, you'd have said, well, what in the world are you talking about? We brought up earlier that Edwards Guzman is his backup behind the plate. He has very little catching experience. Now, with the rosters expanding here on September the 1st, as you get a look at Santiago and what the Giants have done with him as opposed to without him, they made a number of roster moves and brought up a young catcher from the minor leagues, Jorvit Torrealba. Nice play by Arena. And thrown out is Fasano to end the inning. One hit, nobody.
Get Right Guard. By Napa Auto Parts. Napa, we keep America running. By Circuit City, we know how you feel. That's why we're here. Circuit City, we're with you. And by your friends at Exxon and Mobil, who remind you to use Speed Pass, today's way to pay.
1-0 Colorado leading, and now it's time to take a look at our multi-award-winning rendition of the A&W Fan Cam. Sit back, relax, enjoy a beautiful summer Saturday to Huey Lewis and the news.
It's gonna clear up.
Bay Area band. Yes, indeed.
Everybody's gonna cheer up. Redemption time. Don't you worry about a thing. Cause you know that things are gonna change when the time has come.
Good band. They haven't put out a lot of albums in the last few years, but they got a good sound.
You like Huey?
I do. Those first couple albums they had they were awesome.
That's because for you, it is hip to be square.
There is no question about that. 1-2 the count on Eric Davis. That one bounces up there, 2-2.
Oh, we saw Hampton early in the count here drop in that big curveball. Mentioned earlier in the game that he generally likes to throw that to lefties, and he's thrown it so much less this year since he's come to Colorado than he had in the past. Gets by now with the hard sinking fastball, the cutter, and a good changeup.
Hampton has struck out 5. He has walked 1. He's only allowed the 1 base hit. That was a leadoff single to Gallaraga in the 2nd inning. 3-2 on the way to Davis. In the air, right center field. Walker still racing, still going back, and it goes to the wall. And Davis can still run. He's making a turn, and he will go into third with a stand-up triple. That ball just continued to carry.
Well, for those of the people that don't know, this is not a great hitter's park. We talk about Barry Bonds and all the home runs. This is a huge outfield. 421 to that corner. Look at where Walker's already on the run. Nobody can get to this ball, and that ball's way up in the air, too. And then Davis, at 39 years old, at this point thinking that ball might get caught. Now he realizes he hit it pretty good. Can still put the afterburners on pretty good, 39 years old.
The tying run 90 feet away. Nobody out here in the Giant 5th, and Santiago the batter. High and away. Santiago hit that line drive right back at Hampton on the mound. In the 2nd inning, Hampton knocked it down and threw out Santiago at first base.
See the corner infielders here for the Rockies now will play almost even with the bag, try to cut the run off at the plate. The middle infielders will play back, conceding the run if there's a ground ball hit to them. That's what makes it tough on the guy that's on third base right now to judge where the ball's hit.
1-1.
There is what they call in baseball the on-contact play, which means if you're the guy on third base, as soon as the hitter makes contact, you're going. If it's a fly ball, you realize it, you get back, you tag up. You generally don't do that with no outs because you have plenty of chances to score here. Why run yourself out of a run?
Grounded right down to Cirillo. The worst place the Giants could have had it go. Cirillo throws out Santiago. Davis stays put. It's time for a Speed Pass game break brought to you by ExxonMobil. Here's Jeannie. Hi, Jeannie.
Hi, Tom. The Mariners haven't lost in 27 straight road series. They need a win today at Baltimore. Brady Anderson is not helping the cause. Bottom 2, 3-run home run to give the Orioles a 3-1 lead, and that's where we stand, Tom. Bottom 4.
Jeannie, thank you very much. Here it's 1-0 Colorado. Davis stands at third, 1 away in the inning.
That was a nice job by Davis. We just talked about how it happens and how he has to judge where this ball is hit. You see him react to the ball being hit to the third baseman. Your reaction as a player is, I want to score. I want to take off as soon as the ball's hit. It's tough sometimes to have the discipline to stay there because if he takes off, if he takes 2 steps towards home plate, Cirillo just comes right over and tags him out, and you run yourself out of an inning.
Sean Dunston, a swing and a miss, and it's 0-1. The Colorado infield drawn in now.
Now they'll come in to cut the run off, all the infielders, with the 1 out to try to avoid this run from scoring. Dunston needs to be able to lift this ball to the outfield and get the sacrifice fly or drive a ball into the gap.
Dunston, 4 of 24 in his career against Mike Hampton, has struck out 7 times. I wouldn't be surprised to see Dunston lay one down. Here's the 0-1. Nope. Chased a bad pitch, and he's behind now, 0-2.
Wow. Sean Dunston just being a little over-aggressive here trying to drive in this run. That ball's up over his head, and Hampton can get some giddy up on a pitch like that. It's tough to catch up with. Once again, if you're the base runner at third base here, you still have to make the ball be through the infield. Anything on the ground, you can't try to score on because you're going to be dead at the plate. If it scampers through the infield, then you walk home.
0-2 to Dunston, and a grounder foul up the third base line. So offense has been the problem of late for the Giants. They scored 14 runs in 3 games at Arizona. The problem is 13 of the 14 came in 1 game. Then they returned home last night. They're only able to manage 2 runs on a 2-run home run by Barry Bonds. Really, they have fallen into a funk offensively. Over the last 2 weeks, they're only hitting .240 as a team. 1-2 now to Dunston.
Now, playoff teams have to be able to hit the ball with men in scoring position. You have to come up with the big clutch hits in order to win enough games to be a playoff contending type of ball club.
Infield in, runner at third, 1 out, 1-2 to Dunston, just missed. 2-2.
That's the pitch there that Pisano was talking about, trying to get Hampton to, if you're going to miss off the plate inside. So that cutter in on the righties, get them thinking there, and then maybe change up away.
Pisano set up away, and here's a 2-2. Fouled off. Steve, you brought it up. I mean, if you are going to be a playoff team, you cannot fail in situations when your team is having a hard time scoring. When you have a leadoff triple in an inning, you cannot go through that inning without getting the run in.
No question about it. And this team right now has been going through a period, and for most of the season they have not done a great job being a clutch team.
Davis breaks to the plate. They have him in a rundown. Pisano flips to the shortstop, and Uribe makes a tag, so Davis is out. 2 away in the inning, and Dunston at first base, and the struggles continue offensively for the Giants.
Well, and this is the play we talked about, how tough it is. Watch Davis. This really isn't a bad mistake on his part. The ball's a bullet down the third base line. He didn't have a chance to get back to third. A lot of people would look at that play and say, how can you make an out at third base when you have a chance to score a run there if you just stay on third base? Well, you know, if you're the runner and you're sitting at home, what do you do on this play? Not get a big enough lead to score? In the books, it looks like a mistake, but the way the game's played, there wasn't a whole lot of options for Eric Davis on that play down at third base.
Now the number 8 hitter, Feliz, the batter with Dunston at first, 2 away in the inning. Remember, Eric Davis led off this inning with a triple to right center field. Santiago bounced out to third. Davis stayed put. Dunston a bouncer to third. Davis thrown out in a fielder's choice. And I got to be honest with you, Steve, doing games every single day, maybe it's just me, but it seems to me there are more and more and more teams that are failing to play small ball or execute small ball than any time I can ever remember watching baseball games as an announcer for the last 14 years.
And who right now would you say is the best team in baseball at playing small ball?
Well, there's no doubt about it. They're playing in Baltimore today, and it's not the Orioles.
The best record in baseball, and I believe the reason is for some of the same reasons that we talked about earlier today. When you don't see great leadoff hitters anymore, you don't get on the highlights by playing small ball. You don't get on the highlights by being a guy who works the count and takes a walk and gets on first base. You get on the highlights by hitting the ball out of the park. Everyone wants to go up there and swing for the fences. Guys don't like to give themselves up anymore. Guys don't like to do what it takes in order to manufacture runs like we saw the Rockies do in the first inning.
Swing and a miss by Feliz. A leadoff triple by Davis. And the Giants fail to score. End of 5, 1-0 Colorado. Shortstop Rich Aurelia, the Rockies leading 1-0. Hampton has tied a National League record this season for pitchers, 7 home runs this year, tying the mark of Don Newcomb and Don Drysdale. And Hampton will tell anybody about it that is willing to listen. And we asked Larry Walker about Hampton's hitting prowess yesterday.
I gave him one tip during spring training, and I haven't talked to him since. Since then, he's been walking around with his head above the clouds, popping off. I know when he first looked, he had 4 or 5 home runs. He'd actually walk around. I'd get a checklist in his hand. He'd say, "This thing, I got more than you. You can't talk to me. I got more home runs than you. You can't talk to me." So he was really digging himself.
Of course, Walker, joking, of course, but you know, when you got a guy that's hitting 7, you know, you could make a case for him hitting 6th in the lineup today, or at least flip-flopping himself and Sal Pisano.
Well, of the 18 players that are in the lineup, he has as many or more home runs than 12 of them.
Get him up there a few more times.
Juan Pierre walked leading off the ball game, stole second base, and the Rockies were able to play the small ball we were talking about a moment ago. After he stole second, Ortiz hit a fly ball on the right to get him to third. Walker grounded out to scoring, and that's the only run. 3-0 to Pierre, trying to work his way on again.
Now, Pierre's the one guy in this lineup that if you let him get on base, he's the guy that's going to hurt you the most. You've got to keep him off the bases by throwing strikes to him. So it's not like he's a slouch when he has to swing the bat, too. He's hitting 325.
Three-one delivery. And there's ball 4, so they've walked the wrong guy. It's time for a Speed Pass game break brought to you by ExxonMobil. Here's Jeannie Zalasko.
Well, Tom, the Giants have their sights set on the NL wild card. The A's looking at the AL wild card, of course, but Tampa Bay not helping their cause. Steve Cox with a home run at bottom 1, with the Double Rays on the board, and the 3-1 D-Rays bottom 5, Tom.
Jeannie, thank you very much. But look at the margin opened up by Oakland over Boston. 7.5 games.
Turn out the lights.
Are you saying the party is over for the Red Sox?
I believe that's what I'm saying. 7.5 games now with a month to go in the season, with the Oakland A's, although trailing in the game today. You're talking about two teams going in different directions. The Oakland A's playing some of their best baseball. The Red Sox, since the firing of Jimmy Williams, have not looked good at all.
I know you disagree with that firing of Jimmy Williams.
I like Jimmy as a baseball man. I know that there was problems there. I know there's problems within that entire organization. The timing of that whole situation, the way it came down, was not good for that team.
Strike 1 to Jose Ortiz. I mean, I remember spending time in Boston. You played there. You spent a lot of time there. It just seems to me as though whoever the manager is there these days is really taking a beating. And the fans seem to get behind the players, and some of the things they do, they're willing to kind of put aside. And if a manager tries to do something about it, they're not getting any help, whether it be from the fans, the media, or the general manager.
Certainly from the front office, that Dan Duquette and Jimmy Williams did not see eye to eye on very many things, and there was going to be no support between those two guys. Joe Kerrigan taking over now as a Duquette guy from way back in the Montreal organization. Not an easy situation there.
In the air, center field. Calvin Murray drifting into right center. And he's got for the second out of the inning, and Pierre still at first base. Well, they would love to have here in the Bay Area both of their teams represented in the postseason as they were a year ago. Oakland got beat in the opening round in 5 games by the Yankees, a great 5-game series. And the Giants eliminated in 4 games in the division series by the Mets.
Both teams playing good baseball. You look at the Oakland A's and their record. If they were in any other division, they'd be either in first place or within a half a game or a game of first place. In their own division, they're 19 out.
There's Network Associates Coliseum across the bay, home of the Oakland Athletics. Since the beginning of last year, the Giants and the A's are the second and third best winning percentage teams in the majors, behind only Seattle.
Most of that due to Seattle's record this year. Now, if I'm Pierre, I got to go now. I got to get in scoring position for Walker with 2 outs.
play, 0-2. It's another thing you hear a lot about when the big guys are at the plate. They don't like guys running. Some other big guys don't seem to care. It's always an interesting topic to hear discussed among those who played.
Well, with 2 outs, you have, especially my fastest base runner, I got to get him on second base. That way, if my big gun, Larry Walker, can score him in a lot of different ways. Walker's not going to hit a home run every time he's up there. He's got 33 of them. That's a lot. But he's not going to hit a home run. He's going to get just as many hits, doubles, putting the ball in play, having someone make an error. You can score so many ways from second base. I want my guy on second base so that he can drive me in.
There goes Pierre. They pitch out. And a throw is high. And Pierre is caught out. Pierre disagrees with Charlie Relaford. Santiago again throws high, but are really able to reach up and slap down the tag in time. Or was it in time? You be the judge. It's still 1-0 Colorado.
Get down in the dirt. Get down on the dunes.
So in front of the Giants, and the afternoon is over for the rookie right-hander Ryan Jensen. He pitched a terrific ball game here today as John Vanderwall will bat for him leading off the 6th inning. But such is the state of a Giant offense. Jensen goes 6 innings, allows 1 hit, 1 run. He walked 3 and fanned 5, but they've got to take him down.
Boy, that's the toughest thing in the National League, especially if you're a hitter, if you're a pitcher that doesn't swing the bat all that well. Boy, you're out of the game. If you're an American League game right now, you're going strong and headed into some more innings of work.
Both pitchers have been very, very good. Vanderwall came over in the deal with Jason Schmidt from the Pirates. For pitcher Ryan Vogelsong and outfielder Armando Rios. Vanderwall had been one of the premier pinch hitters throughout his entire career. Up until last year, and he became an everyday player.
Still has the 2nd most pinch hits of any player that's still active, Lenny Harris.
And there you see, since becoming an everyday player, nearly a .290 hitter, more home runs than he had in his first 9 years in the major leagues, and almost as many runs batted in. Broken bat roller to third. 1 away. Let's go back to that call at second in the top of the 6th.
Here's Juan Pierre, and let's talk about how tough it is to be an umpire. Charlie Relaford making the call here. Let's take a look at a couple of these angles right here. Looks like Pierre gets in, and the tag is made a little bit high. The throw was high by Santiago again. Take another look at it, but does Pierre hit Aurelia's shoe first? Aurelia doing the old Bobby Grich, gets down in front. Look at his hand goes right into his shoe first and then gets tagged. From that angle, looks like a pretty good call. Relaford looks like he makes the right call, but you know what? Charlie doesn't get to see 16 different angles like we do. He has to call it right now, and when you see all the angles, looks to me like he made the right call.
Top of the order now for the Giants with 1 down and nobody on. Calvin Murray has popped to second and struck out. Hampton delivers in the dirt. I mean, you always hear about a catcher blocking the plate. Were you ever taught as a middle infielder to block the second base bag?
Sure. Get your knee down there. Get whatever you have the guts to do, because if you know if the guy slides feet first, you might catch a cleat. But Aurelia there, putting his foot down in front of the bag, knowing that Pierre's going to go head first. Maybe he does exactly what he did right there. Has that front hand run into his foot rather than the base, and he's blocking the base, and he steals an out call right here. Right there, right into the foot. Then he gets the tag on him, and then he reaches back to try to get the bag. Boy, as a base stealer, you're just mad right there. You say, I know I beat the throw. I was there. Here, say, no, no, no. Aurelia stole that one right there. He stole the attempted steal. That's not right.
It's a double 8. 2-2 pitch. And it's taken high. 3-2 now on Murray. And Aurelia waits on deck. The Giants trailing 1-0. Barry Bonds not in the lineup here today. Arizona will be playing later tonight in San Diego. The Cubs in the wild card have already won. And Murray fouls it out of play, first base side. And you're taking a look at the Lamisil out-of-town scoreboard, and you know all the Giant fans are well aware that Sammy and the Cubs winners again today in Atlanta.
I think maybe if this score stays the same in the late innings that we might get a little sniff of Barry Bonds.
I would think the chances are pretty good. 3-2 now to Murray. On the ground to the shortstop Uribe. Strong throw is in time. And you know Hampton is right, as we brought up earlier, if he's getting ground balls. He has induced the third most ground balls this season in the league, behind only Jimmy Anderson of the Pirates and Greg Maddux of Atlanta.
Think about how hard that is to do in Coors Field. Everyone talks about that being such a launching pad. One of the reasons why Hampton was the premier free agent that they went after is they figured his sinker would be the least pitch affected by the altitude there. Everyone talks about how they're not able to break off their good curveballs, their good sliders. They don't break as well in the altitude, but the sinker isn't as affected quite as much. And the sinker is the one pitch that induces more ground balls than any other pitches, which what you want to do in Coors Field. Don't think you're going to be a fly ball pitcher and live well in Colorado.
7 of Hampton's last 11 outs have come on ground balls. It's a big batter here for the Giants, because outside of Kent, who waits in the on-deck circle, at least in their starting lineup, there's not much thunder in the lineup. Now, guys like Dunston and Davis and Gallaraga, all capable of hitting home runs. But as far as just numbers are concerned this year, Aurelia with 29, Kent with 18. 2-1 now to Aurelia.
Talked earlier, Davis with the shoulder problems, just 4 home runs all season. Santiago's had a lot of at-bats, just 4. The lineup that's in there today for the Giants, not a good lineup to manufacture runs.
In the air down the right field line, Walker in fair territory makes a play, and a 1-2-3-6 for Hampton. Fox Sports, the home of the World Series, will return after a break from your local Fox station.
You're watching Fox.
And Christensen, who came over from the Cardinals. Christensen on to face left-handed batting Larry Walker, left-handed batting Todd Helton. And then you have Cirillo, a right-handed batter, due up thereafter. 0-1 to Walker.
Christensen, one of the guys they got to shore up the bullpen. Huge lefty. Throws hard for a left-hander, but tell you what, when Larry Walker's right, he doesn't care which side you throw from.
Brian Sabian, the Giants general manager, has really done a nice job of filling some holes on this Giants team as you look at Walker's numbers against Christensen. 2 home runs, 4 hits, and 9 at bats.
Not scaring him, is he?
One. That one up and in. The Giants have brought in 6 players since the beginning of July. And half of them in the bullpen. Brian Boehringer, Jason Christensen, and Wayne Gomes to go along with Gallaraga. Jason Schmidt, who won a big game in the series finale in Arizona 2 nights ago. And John Vanderwall. 2-2 to Walker.
Well, the catching situation that you had talked about before, too, with the catchers with Santiago, Mirabella and Estalella aren't even with the club anymore.
It's always the trade deadline deals that get the most pub. And those are 4 of them made by Brian Sabian there. But Boehringer, a good solid addition to this bullpen. 2-2 pitch. Fouled back out of play. Of course, their rivals in the National League West made moves as well. Arizona picking up right-hander Albie Lopez, who had a slow start, but has pitched brilliantly over his last 4 outings, allowed a total of 4 runs in his last 4 starts. 3-2 to Walker. And the Dodgers went out, try to strengthen their bullpen, although it hasn't worked out that way with Mike Trombley and Terry Mulholland and James Baldwin in the rotation.
Yeah, this is where you see Walker really bear down and become a much better hitter with 2 strikes.
And a good eye there. Ball 4. There's a bright orange monster over the stadium today, and you know what it is, Steve. The Monster.com blimp Skeeter.
Wait, it looks like a shark. No one told me there's sharks in this water. And
right around him.
Circling.
Yes, the media created madness over the shark attacks this summer. Monster.com for work, life, and possibilities.
That sailboat lived to see another day.
Oh, yes. That would have made a terrific Tom Clancy novel. The torpedo circling right around the sailboat.
It wasn't heat-seeking.
No. Well, it was Russian-made, so something had to go wrong.
Send your cards and letters to Thom Brennaman.
Want to know the count to Todd Elton. And here's the pitch. Fouled back to the screen.
For all the baseball fans of Russian descent.
Well, I'm not beating up on them. This is they were a little short here in recent years. That's all.
There's a lot of torpedoes out there.
What in the world was that?
I have no idea.
I mean, it's hard to see. It's so bright here today, and we have these monitors in front of us. Here's a 1-1. Fouled away by Hilton. I mean, I saw the part where it was a cloud in the foreground along the coast there. Okay, now it's
bunch of boats out in the water with some rocks. And inside the stadium, some Rockies.
And the Rockies with a 1-0 lead. Here's a 1-2 to Hilton. Strike 3 called.
That's filthy right there. When you get a 1-2 pitch and he's thinking about maybe bouncing a breaking ball or getting something up and in, and Christensen just comes back with the filthy fastball on the outside part of the plate to ring up Helton, which is, once again, as we talked about, Walker and Helton, that's hard to do.
So Christensen finished with Walker and Helton. They'll bring on a right-hander, Tim Worrell, from the bullpen to face Cirillo, Ochoa, and Uribe. It's 1-0 Rockies batting in the 7th. Now on the pitch for the Giants, right-hander Tim Worrell. He's done a solid job for San Francisco this season.
A lot of appearances, a lot of innings, a lot of strikeouts. Still a power pitcher. Worrell try to blow it by you.
1-0 the Rockies lead, batting in the 7th inning.
Is that a wedding out there in the Cove?
Yes, it is.
You see the groom dive in to the water.
No, the only person who's going to jump off that boat is the father of the bride when they hand him a check for that. Matter of fact, he already jumped.
They're just, what are they, just touring the bay?
Well, she's getting a little chilly, looks like, out there.
They haven't taken the pictures yet.
Pretty nice setup there.
Those guys waving at us. The other guys in the other boat, they're like watching us on TV saying, yeah, we're right here. How you guys doing? Good to see you.
Walker, a good lead over there at first base, held on by Gallaraga. He's not going. And it's taking a strike at the belt. 0-2 on Cirillo. Those guys are living right. One and two.
You know, Tom, you were talking earlier about Walker and how much he runs now. Still a pretty good threat to run, but very much more selective these days with the injury problems that he's had in the past. And the fact that he's 34 years old now, and a hard 34, an old 34, with the way he plays the game. So now runs just when you really need a big stolen base.
2-2. Well, right now would be one of those situations, wouldn't it?
I think so. Time in the game, this count right here. Cirillo puts his bat on the ball pretty good. Another one of those run and hit situations where you're not going to take the bat out of Cirillo's hands by making him hit and run. Let him swing the bat if he likes it. If he doesn't, let Walker try to steal the base. You got to remember, both times that Santiago's thrown someone out today, they were both on pitch outs.
Worrell well aware that Walker is over there. And Cirillo taking a look down at Rich Donnelly, the Colorado third base coach, to see if something might be on. Barry pacing around in that giant dugout. Re-into. Well, he has to be going now.
I think so. And once again, the reasons why. You know, some people would say, well, there's only one out. He doesn't have to be going. Well, yeah, you do. You know, you got to put pressure on the team. You're ahead in this game. Cirillo puts his bat on the ball. Put some pressure on the team that you're beating at this point.
3-2. There goes Walker, and a ground ball back to the pitcher, who drops the ball. He's able to recover and throw out Cirillo, but Walker in scoring position. It's time for a Speed Pass game break, brought to you by ExxonMobil. There's Jeannie.
Thom, at Fenway this morning, Pedro Martinez in his second game out since coming off the DL, tossed 87 pitches through 6 innings, gave up no runs, 2 hits. But it was Orlando Hernandez that left with the win, El Duque's first win of the season. Why, you ask? Because of that. Top 9. Bernie Williams, game-winning solo home run in the 9th. Yankees win. Their magic number is 20, Tom.
Jeannie, thank you. And the Yankees very much again beginning to look like that team that's won 4 of the last 5 World Series titles. Runner in scoring position for Alex Ochoa. It's down and away, ball 1. Ochoa, one of the most dangerous hitters in all of baseball late in the game. From the 7th inning on, he has a third best batting average in the National League, .351. But he's a swing and a miss victim there, 1-1.
And you look at a lot of the Rocky players with gaudy averages after the 6th inning. And you wonder if a lot of that same thing comes from playing at home, facing some bad bullpens. You get late into the game, you see some bullpens that just aren't able to get the job done, and you start launching balls into the seats in Coors Field.
Well, the Rockies only have 1 base hit. There was a leadoff single by the man who's up there right now, Alex Ochoa, in the 5th inning. They've drawn 4 walks. And the only run of the game scored on a leadoff walk to the very first batter of the game, Juan Pierre. Stole a base, a fly ball got him to third, a ground out by Walker scored him. Fouled straight back and out of play.
You talk about the playoff teams that have the ability to do what the Rockies did in that first inning, score a run without the benefit of a hit. Teams that can manufacture runs are, to me, the teams that do so much better in a playoff situation. 7-game set, when you're talking about facing another team in the playoffs that has an outstanding pitching staff as well, your offensive numbers are going to go down. It's what you can do to score runs without having your big bangers do a lot of damage.
Still 2-2 on Ochoa, and really look no further than the last 10 years for the Atlanta Braves. You could make a very strong argument that had they played small ball maybe 24 times in all the playoff appearances they've been involved in the last 10 years, maybe they have 2 or 3 World Series titles.
You're right. In a couple of those years, they led the National League in runs scored, which was always very surprising to me because you always saw a team with outstanding pitching and not enough offense when it got down to playoff baseball time.
Fouled away again by Ochoa. Still 2-2.
Houston Astros, another example of a team that just crushed mediocre pitching and then couldn't get it done when they faced a talented staff of another team that was in the playoff. This year, if they can hang on, might be a little different. When you're talking about maybe 2 of the top 5 hitters in the National League playing on that team. And in my opinion, that would be Lance Berkman, Moises Alou, and then you're not even talking about Bagwell and Biggio on that club. Hidalgo. Those guys can swing the bats.
Fastball just off the inside corner. Worrell wanted the call and didn't get it.
Take a look at it, setting up inside. Santiago trying to steal an inside fastball. That ball looks like it's off the plate. Ochoa jumping out of there, trying to make it look like it's more off the plate. They didn't get it. Philadelphia Phillies, another one of those teams still definitely in the fight, but a very well-balanced team with speed and power.
3-2 on Ochoa. And there's ball 4. That was quite an at-bat there by the Colorado left fielder Alex Ochoa. He draws a walk. And the inning continues now for Juan Uribe.
And of course, it's hard not to mention the team that probably does it better than anybody in baseball this year, and that's the Mariners.
Apparently, somebody in a San Francisco dugout, it might be Dusty Baker. He might just be coming out there to help somebody else out. Questioning the balls and strikes, or that one pitch in particular on the 2-2 pitch to Ochoa of umpire Greg Gibson. You're not allowed to argue balls and strikes.
Yeah, and it's getting a little more heated with Dusty, too, and now he's following him out there. He's going to get himself in trouble doing that. Well, check out Santiago again, this time setting up away. He knows that's not the pitch that's a strike. It was the one before that inside that they wanted.
I think Santiago had something to say there, you see. Something to say to Gibson. They're kind of going back and forth. The catcher's not going to show an umpire up. He's not going to turn around and start arguing. And Gibson pointing to Dusty Baker saying, I'm tired of hearing it from this guy. Swing and a miss, 0-1 to Juan Uribe.
Well, the catcher's the one guy on your team that can get away with it more than anybody else. He's facing away, as you mentioned. He's got to be pulling for his pitcher. He's got to kind of chip away at the umpire, saying, you know, I got to get that pitch. I have to be able to establish him inside or away. If I sit up out there and he hits the glove, you got to give it to him. Sometimes the umpires are saying, hey, you better creep back in over the plate a little bit more, because I don't care where you set up. And if he hits the glove, if it's not a strike, I'm not calling it. Those guys have some good running conversations sometimes. And Santiago's been around a long, long time, but I think he got a little bit irritated on that. I think that was one of those times where he really wanted it a little bit more than another time in the ball game, and was upset that he didn't get the call.
Two on, 2 out, and the 0-2 is a breaking ball away from Uribe. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, Dusty Baker has to be frustrated. His team dropped 3 out of 4 to New York last weekend. They went to Arizona for a huge...
Just make a paycheck. I've got the things that I've been blessed with through the game already. The only thing I don't have is a championship ring. People have acknowledged me as an all-star, now as an MVP, and I'm very appreciative of that. But I'm not a champion, and that's all I care about.
Canada Giants reached the playoffs last season, lost in the opening round to the New York Mets in 4 games. They go into play today, trailing Arizona by 4 in the West. 2 games after a Chicago win earlier today in the wild card. Mike Hampton has been terrific on the mound for Colorado today. He has shut out Kent and the Giants on just 2 base hits. This is a huge inning for the Giants with the heart of the order. Breaking ball missed, 2-1.
Of course, you have to go back to about 10 days ago when you look at the Giants' record over their last 10 ball games. Lost 7 of those games with the comments and the article that was written in the Sports Illustrated. Rick Riley
on the ground at Uribe, had a hard time finding it, and got a hold of it, 1 away.
Mentioned the potential conflict between Bonds and Kent, and maybe some of the things that are going on in his clubhouse.
But let me ask you this, though, Steve. I mean, you and I have been around this team a lot this year. I mean, do you think it's not something that everybody in the whole clubhouse didn't know already?
Yes, but I think it was something that the rest of us all didn't know. And I think once something like that becomes public knowledge, I think it has a chance to hurt a team a lot more than when it is kept inside. It's one of the reasons why.
Gallaraga lifts a fly ball into short right field, and Walker's got it for the second out.
One of the reasons why teams like to keep their business within their own team. That's, you know, you don't like to have your manager rip you in the press. You like your manager to take you in the back room and say, look, I don't like the way you're doing things. Change it, or you'll sit down on the bench. You know, that, I think all players respect their privacy when they have problems on the team, and it's a lot tougher for you when those private problems, and they were known within the baseball circles, but they certainly weren't known within the masses. Once they become public knowledge, I think it's tougher to deal with.
0-1, Derek Davis.
And coincidence or not, their record has shown that it's been tougher to deal with since that was made public.
1-0 to Davis, and he takes a fastball in the outside corner. Take a look at our Hershey's game summary. The starters have been terrific, as we mentioned. Hampton's still out there. They had to take down Jensen because they haven't scored. The only run in the first inning. On a walk, a stolen base, a fly ball, and a ground out. 1-2 now to Davis.
Where I think Hampton's got to stay all hard stuff to Davis right now. We talked about earlier in the game, he was a little trouble catching up with his fastball. Good high fastball right here to Davis right now might be what can get him out.
Came with a fastball, but low, and Davis had a pretty good rip at it.
Yeah, that's an area where I think Davis can still catch up with that fastball. How low he holds his hands. Here you see Hampton's motion and delivery up against that stiff front leg as he pitches, and then that's why he's such an excellent athlete and able to field his position. You see his finishing position after he lets go of the ball. Totally ready to field his position after he lets go of a pitch. The thing right now for Eric Davis that makes Hampton so tough is that with the 2 strikes, he can run the fastball up in the zone, go with a changeup down and away.
Tries that fastball up, and Davis wouldn't chase it. 2-2. Barry Bonds is available to come off the San Francisco bench. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning. Tried that fastball in on Davison and missed too far in. 3-2.
And that's very close to the same pitch that Santiago wanted in the last inning. Most hitters and most players just want consistency out of the umpires.
3-2 on the way, and a swing and a miss by Davis, and that'll end the inning. 7 strikeouts for Hampton, who's retired the last 9.
Two season premieres starting at 8, 7 Central tonight on Fox.
Barry Bonds has come on to take over in left field as part of a double switch made by manager Dusty Baker. Sean Dunston moves from left field over to right field. Eric Davis has been taken out of the game. Felix Rodriguez will bat in his position. Bonds will bat in the 9 hole, which means he's due up 4th in the 8th inning. But Felix Rodriguez, among the best setup pitchers in all of baseball, takes over for the Giants.
This guy, look at the 8-1 record. You know, not so much of an underrated, unheard of guy now. People around the league know what this guy's been able to do for this ball club. Throws very, very hard. 8 wins, the most in a San Francisco uniform since Steve Bedrosian had 9 back in 1990.
Well, that's the one area where you give a lot of credit, or I do anyway, to Joe Torre. manager again of the American League All-Star team this past year. The first manager I can recall anyway. There probably has been someone else, but somebody who not only did it once, but it with 2 or 3 different pitchers this year. Giving the setup men a chance to be in an All-Star game. Guys like Stanton and Jeff Nelson that pitched so brilliantly for him in New York. Of course, Nelson has moved on to Seattle. I mean, there are closers, right? There are closers that are not pitching nearly as well that go to the All-Star game as guys like Felix Rodriguez. And there's a strike to Pisano.
I know I would get a lot of argument from a lot of people out there, but to me, in today's game, your setup man is your closer. He's the guy that's in the game when there's men on base. He's the guy that's in the game when it's a little tougher to pitch. He's the guy that's supposed to hang on to your lead so that the closer in the 9th inning can come riding in on his shiny white horse and get 3 guys out when there's nobody on.
Roller off the end of the bat to Jeff Kent. Pisano retired. It's time for a Speed Pass game break brought to you by ExxonMobil. Here's Jeannie Zalasko.
Well, Tom, they haven't lost in 27 straight road series, and here is why. Trailing Baltimore 4-1 at one point. Ichiro steps in top 6 with 2 outs. Drives instead Javier and David Bell. Now the Mariners are out in front 5-4, top 7.
Ichiro just wearing it out.
Great success story he's been in this league.
So Rodriguez retires. The first batter, Pisano, to begin the 8th inning, and now it's the pitcher, Mike Hampton. Hampton is grounded to short and struck out.
Yeah, we talked about Sal Pisano and what he's meant to this pitching staff, but fortunately for Sal, I believe he's the slowest man in all of baseball. That was not a slow motion replay. That was, I think we even, wow. Guys, did we quicken that up down in the truck for him?
It's in the old 78.
Just to give him a little help. What a good guy he is, though. I'll tell you, we talked to him a little bit before the game about how he handles his pitching staff, and he hasn't been around that long, but really has a great idea behind the plate of how to handle a staff, and a good catch and throw guy. Quick feet behind the plate for a guy who runs that slow to first base.
He runs higher at mile-high altitude, though. Swung on and fouled back to the screen.
He's one of those guys, you know, the old saying, runs good for a catcher. He doesn't run good for a catcher.
He's done a nice job working with Mike Hampton here behind the plate again today.
The thing he said that most impressed me today was that he said, hey, I don't care who Mike Hampton is or who any of these pitchers are. I have a job to do, and I'm afraid that some catchers come to the big leagues and they're afraid to, you know, get in a guy's face just because of his status.
Gone looking is Hampton, 2 away.
Now, this surprises me a little bit because Mike Hampton, with all his home runs, 7 of them, a couple of them are the other way. He likes fastballs away so that he could dive towards the plate and unload. He knows that anyone that's going to pitch to him is going to throw him away. And he wasn't able to pull the trigger on that one.
Well, Hampton not going to argue with home plate umpire Greg Gibson. He still has 6 more outs to get, and he'd like that call when he's out on the mound.
That looked like that was a little bit of a cutter.
Felix Rodriguez, originally a catcher in the Dodger organization. Hit in the very low 200s, and they decided, young man, it's time to try something else. They brought him to the major leagues, and Cincinnati picked him up and really gave him his first full shot at the major league level. Then he moved on to Arizona and picked up the Diamondbacks' first ever save in franchise history, their first ever win, which ironically enough came against the Giants. Arizona traded him to San Francisco, and he has been lights out ever since.
It takes any player a long time to develop after switching positions, but when you talk about going from being a catcher to a pitcher, you're talking about extra learning time once he finally put it together.
1-1 delivery. Fouled back out of play, and he's gotten better year by year. In '98, when he was the Diamondbacks closer, he'd have a couple of bad games, and then Buck Showalter said, I just can't bring him in anymore. Well, this guy had pretty good stuff. But his ERA that year wound up being 6. He was put in mop-up situations, came to the Giants. Dusty Baker showed a lot of confidence in him, kept giving him the ball even after he had a bad game. And he just keeps getting more dominant every year. Roller to the right side. Ken is there. And the throw pulls Gallaraga off the bag. That might be an infield hit.
I score that a hit. No question. Ken had to go a long way to get it. Pierre's flying down the line. Kent has to his throw up in order to get it over there to get Pierre. That's the reason you pull him off the bag. Watch how far Kent's going over to get it. Now he has to hurry, square himself up, and let that thing go. Sails on him a little bit, and look where Pierre is. He might have beat it out even if the throw was on the bag. This is not Sal Fasano running. That's a true contrast in speed right there. Fasano and Pierre.
It is indeed an infield hit. The 3rd time that Juan Pierre has been on base today. That's his job, and he does it so well.
And next time Fasano sees me, he'll punch me right in the mouth.
I was going to say, you better hope we don't see the Rockies anymore this year.
He knows he's not fast.
I mean, he knows he's not fast, but I mean, you hung him with a label now of the slowest man in baseball.
He is the slowest man in all of baseball. But you know what impresses me about it? 2 things that impress me. Number 1, he's not getting any infield hits. So his hits are legitimate. You see the hit that Pierre gets right there. He can get those because he's flying. Sal has never gotten an infield hit in his life.
Yeah, I mean, Pierre now has 40 infield hits.
There you go. Take 40 hits off of Pierre's average, and what is he hitting?
Well, we'll have to check it out.
Daddy Wags, get on that for us.
Mark Wagner, our statistician supreme extraordinaire. He'll get on that. We'll take away 40 hits from Pierre. He came in hitting .326. But I have a feeling it'll be better than Fasano's .208.
Yeah, but Fasano hasn't been here that long. You know, give him some time to get acclimated over here to the National League.
Like called on the outside corner.
See, here's Fasano again. Not running fast, but running hard. You kidding me? He's giving you his best shot down the line. Low flying. Yeah, sort of.
Pierre would be hitting .244 without the 40 infield hit.
There you go. Would he be talked about as one of the best leadoff men in all of baseball? I think not. He's going to be taken off here shortly, too, to try to steal a bag.
1-2 delivery. He thought about it and stopped. 2-2. But for young players who run well, that is a great lesson and statistic in and of itself. You take away his 40 infield hits, his ability to learn how to bunt and bunt effectively, his ability to hit down on the ball and utilize his speed, and his desire to hustle everything out like that last play has led to 40 more hits and nearly 80 points on his batting average. In fact, better than 80 points on his batting average.
Understanding what your game is all about is one of the biggest things that a player has to go through as far as his maturity in the game. Use your strengths to keep yourself at the major league level.
2-2 on Ortiz. Runner goes, and a ground ball on the hit and run. And throwing in time as O'Reilly is able to recover. Didn't hit that ball far enough to the left side of the infield. Barry Bonds due up 4-1-0 Colorado.
Get enough peanuts? Get a payday. Sweet caramel and tons of salty peanuts.
The great views you're seeing of our game are being brought to us today by Monster.com's blimp Skeeter. Monster.com operates 2 blimps in the U.S. Whether you're currently looking for a new job or want to get ahead in your current one, Monster.com can help. Monster.com for work, life, possibilities. 1-0 Colorado as Mike Hampton turns it loose to begin the 8th inning. And it's ball 1 to Benito Santiago. Hampton has only allowed 2 hits. A leadoff single by Gallaraga in the 2nd. A leadoff triple by Eric Davis in the 5th. There's that pitch that Hampton got called out on for strike 3. And he gets it called a strike here to Santiago.
That's a smart pitcher. They're going to call it on me when I'm hitting. I'm going to go out there and throw it when I'm pitching. You know, Hampton this year has averaged 102 pitches in his starts. Right now throwing 105 so far. Pitched so well today.
High into the air, left field. Drifting back, unable to find it is Ochoa. The ball's off the wall. Santiago only able to get to second base after all of that. Ochoa lost it in the sun, and we have seen so many times here at Pac Bell Park. Left field is very much a tough sun field during the day.
In the daytime, one of the toughest in baseball, almost like Fenway Park in right field in a day game. Ochoa with the flip down shades, he's got him down, but he's in trouble right now. Then he finally picks it up, makes a nice effort to try to catch it off the top of the wall. That ball, see him flip the shades down right now. Now he said, oh, I don't have it. I don't know where it is. Boom, right off the top of the wall. We're talking about another 6 inches, and it's a home run. Santiago didn't believe he hit it all that well. He's thinking right now, this is a pop-up. Then he stumbles. Now he hustles into second base. Would have been tough for him to be on third anyway because the ball's hit to left field. But when he hit that ball, he didn't think he hit it nearly this well. Ochoa tries to make the nice recovery. That is the one thing with the flip down shades, that once you flip them down, you have a slight moment of distortion there. It's a little bit tougher to pick the ball back up.
Well, now Dunston asked to bunt. And is it fair? Is it foul? They're saying he is out at the plate. That the ball must have hit Dunston as he came out of the batter's box. And that is the call, and they're going to send the runner Santiago back to second base. How about that?
Give Fasano a lot of credit on this one, too. He jumped out of his position behind the plate, jumped up on the ball, and then turned and said, hey, this ball hit Dunston on his way out of the box. You got to call him out on this. Watch it again. Dunston dropping down the bunt. Hits him as he crosses home plate in his back leg. So his front leg's already out of the box. Now his back leg comes out. He's clearly out of the box when that ball hits him right along home plate. Boink, hitting him on his back. Great call. Watch Fasano's yelling and screaming right now. Hey, that ball hit him after he was out of the box.
And then it's drilled down the line by Feliz, and the game is tied. Feliz with a double.
Those are the kind of clutch hits that they're looking for from Feliz. Some people might say, well, why wasn't he guarding the line? Where's Cirillo guarding the line? Well, when a guy's on second base, you don't necessarily guard the line because a single can score the run, so you protect against a regular single. If the guy hits a double, he's going to score him anyway.
Well, the first base open. On the go-ahead run already in scoring position, they're going to intentionally walk Barry Bonds. It's the first time we've seen Bonds at the plate here today. He did not start the game. Just came on defensively in the top of this 8th inning. Barry hit home run number 57 here last night. He is 2 games now behind the pace set by Sammy Sosa, not in 1998. But in Sosa's 1999 for the quickest to 57 home run. It is just amazing. With all the talk about Bob, he got 25 fewer at-bats than Sosa did in the month of August because of what you just saw, the base on balls.
And Sosa, second in the National League in walks, way behind Bonds, but Sosa would never walk if he didn't try to walk him.
Well, now Marcel Latchman out to visit with Hampton for Bonds. That is his 140th walk of the year. The 28th time he's been intentionally walked. Rob Nen beginning to crank it up in the Giant bullpen should San Francisco take the lead. Activity in the Colorado pen, a bullpen which was battered, beaten, and bruised for most of the year until about the last month. Justin Spire. And yes, he's the son of longtime Giant shortstop Chris Spire. Calvin Murray, the batter. 2 on, 1 out, 1 in. There should be 2. There's 1. Throw to first, and that's a double play to end the inning. Feliz ties the game with a double 1-1. We go to the 9th.
Hey there, little Red Riding.
And have the bad luck of Alex Ochoa losing the fly ball off the bat of Benito Santiago to begin the 8th inning that turned into a double.
But look at location right there. That's a pitch that's out over the middle of the plate that got hammered. And then Feliz, once again, a ball tailing back out over the middle of the plate that he hit. Talked about Hampton's location all day long and how great it's been. It's amazing how, after you get up over the 100-pitch level, how tough it is to keep that location and how major league hitters will make you pay when you make a mistake.
Power versus power here as we begin the 9th inning. And Felix Rodriguez threw one right by Walker, a 98-mile-per-hour fastball. It'll be Walker, Helton, and Cirillo.
That may be the worst excuse me swing I've ever seen Larry Walker take. Oops, didn't want to. That ball blew by him like he was looking for something else.
'98 again.
And when you're blowing it up there at 98, you better not be looking for anything else. We talked about this earlier in the game, though. Watch the mental approach change for Larry Walker right now. Not the way he swings the bat, just the way he approaches the at-bat once he gets 2 strikes.
0-2 on the way. 97, that time he took a little off. 1-2.
Walker's not one of those guys that cuts down his swing with 2 strikes. He just hones in a little bit better.
Tried the fastball again and it missed outside. Count even to Walker at 2-2.
Walker's not going to stand there and wait that much longer. It takes Rodriguez a long time to throw the ball.
Fastball again. He continues to try that outside edge. He didn't get the call from Greg Gibson. It's 3-2.
Now, this pitch isn't a strike. You look where they're setting up. This ball up and away from Walker. And the first pitch fooled him badly. He didn't look good on the second pitch. He's down 0-2. Now he's 3-2 with a much better opportunity to swing the bat. Great discipline after 2 strikes.
3-2 to Walker. And he takes a walk. What an at-bat there by Larry Walker. You brought it up earlier. Walker led off the 7th inning by drawing a walk. He never attempted to steal second base. Now, granted, he's had more than his fair share of leg injuries, especially through the years. But he has 12 and 15 attempts this year, and they need him in scoring position.
It'd be interesting to see how this will play out with Helton up. I don't think he'll be running. He'll want Helton to have that opportunity to shoot one through the hole where Gallaraga is holding him on first base. But if Helton does not drive a ball into the gap or doesn't move him over at all, I think after Helton's out of there is when he'll think to run a little bit more.
Helton in his career against Felix Rodriguez. There you get a look. 3 of 7 with a home run. So he's playing even with a bag at third base. And here's a pitch. Swing and a miss. Rodriguez coming in throwing nothing but fastballs, and they are fastballs.
Here's what we're talking about, Tom. This great distance between Kent playing here, Gallaraga on first base. A lot of room for Helton to hit the ball into right field. Even if he hits the ball on the ground, there's a lot of hits over there as long as Walker stays on first base. Walker attempts to steal second. Even if he's safe, that pulls Gallaraga back off of the bag, closes down that 2-hole to shoot the ball through. And we talked about before, Helton loves to pull the ball, even a 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
Fastball away, evens the count to Helton at 1-1. Believe it or not, Helton does have a sacrifice bunt this year. He's not up there to bunt in this situation right now, but he does have one. So it's not completely unthinkable. Takes a hack there. 1-2.
What I think is amazing about Helton's swing, as he flirted with 400 last year, and you see this swing. He swings with bad intent with the big leg kick. Great balance. Just missed the ball here. That's one of those high strikes that we talked about would be much more difficult for the left-handed hitters to handle this year because tougher for them to get on top of a high strike. But Helton doesn't have a John Olerud picture-perfect swing, Rafael Palmeiro, but he does still have the great balance. He's got a little bigger leg kick. He's a little more herky-jerky, if you will. Not a real pretty left-handed swing, but great balance through the hitting zone. And that's why he had the tremendous season last year with flirting with 400 and hitting 335 this year.
See if there's any action here on 2-2 with Walker over at first base, held on by Gallaraga, and a pitch he's not going, and it's fouled back out of play. You can make a very strong argument that Helton is the best all-around hitter in the major leagues today. His batting average appears to be headed year in and year out 330 or higher most of the time than 330, and especially playing at Coors Field, you can write it down. If he plays in 140 games, he's going to hit 40 or more homers. 2-2 pitch. Strike 3 called on the inside corner. Away for Rodriguez, and then busts one in on the hands.
Great job of pitching by Rodriguez right there, just thinking away and then throwing that ball sort of a la Greg Maddux, although much harder. Maddux will run it up there about 88. They're talking 10 miles an hour faster with the little tailing motion. You know, we talked about it earlier in the game, but the amount of guts that you have to have in order to throw that pitch in that situation and hit your location with it is tremendous. You miss out over the plate with that ball, and it's wet out in McCovey Cove somewhere.
Well, let's see, as you suspected, with Helton now down, let's see if Walker will get started as Cirillo steps up there. Cirillo 0 for 3. He's popped to second, bounced into a fielder's choice to the shortstop Aurelia, and bounced out to the mound.
Now here's the trade-off for Walker at first base. When Helton was hitting, being left-handed, it's a harder throw for the catcher to make down to second base with that hitter in your way. Now with Cirillo hitting from the right-hand side, it's an easier throw for the catcher to make if you're stealing.
Into left center field, it's going to fall for a base hit. Bonds on to get it, preventing Walker from advancing on to third. Let's take a speed pass game break brought to you by ExxonMobil. Here's Jeannie.
Tom, Sammy Sosa trailed Barry Bonds by 10 home runs at the All-Star break after today. That's down to 4. Top 1 in Atlanta. Sosa launches number 53. Longest home run in Turner Field history. Cubs win, but will Sammy win the NL MVP? What do you think? Log on, foxsports.com, keyword MVP, cast your vote. We will share the results for the pregame show and next week, Saturday. Tom?
Jeannie, thank you. And Dave Righetti, the San Francisco pitching coach, comes out for a visit with Felix Rodriguez. The Giants tied the game in the bottom half of the 8th inning. But Rodriguez walked Larry Walker, retired Todd Helton on strikes, but has now surrendered a single to Cirillo. 2 on in the Rockies' 9th inning with only 1 away.
They talk about how situations come up in the game and who you'd want hitting in a certain situation. Ochoa, the guy in left field who lost the ball in the sun to let Santiago get off with that double. Now having a chance for a little redemption with guys on and a chance to hit.
Ochoa is 1 of 2. Outside for ball 1, and this is not a batter that Rodriguez can fool around with as far as control and nicking and picking a little bit here. You might say, what do you mean nicking? He's throwing all fastball. He's gotten a little too fine, especially to Walker leading off the inning after getting ahead 0-2.
He's got the kind of stuff where if you're the manager of this club, you say, hey, throw the ball over the plate, blow these guys away.
That's what I mean, a slider. Right there on a 1-0. I mean, 1-0 to a hitter, and you got 2 on. You can't be throwing sliders unless it's a strike.
Best pitch in baseball is still a good hard fastball with some movement on it. And that's what he has. Put down the old number 1 and let me see if you can beat me on my best stuff.
2-0. Came with a fastball, and he lifts it in the air down the right field line. Dunston in foul territory to catch. Walker's tagging up and going to third, and Dunston's going to hang onto the ball and run it back to the infield. Not going to take a chance at throwing one away.
Nice play by Walker as well with the awareness here. Anytime there's a foul ball, there's no reason why you shouldn't tag. Tags up with the chance, takes a quick look back at him, and then says, I'm going to take off. He knew that Dunston had a long way to run and get that ball, was hanging around in foul territory down there by the bullpen area. He's got guys he has to worry about. Should I throw it? Should I not? Says, I'll let him go to third base because the big out is this next one.
And you know, Steve, if you're Buddy Bill, you got to be saying, what in the world is going on at the plate here? I mean, it's a 2-0 count, and you know Rodriguez is coming fastball. Don't you have to be locked and loaded, not popping up down the right field line?
Well, that's what we talked about before. The toughest pitch is a nasty, hard fastball, 98 miles an hour. A little tougher to catch up.
Well, here comes Rob Nett with runners on the corner. On the corners, 2 away, and Rob Nett on the pitch to Juan Uribe. A fastball away, 1-0. Boy, if Uribe could bunt at all.
Dropped one down. I love a bunt with 2 outs.
Kent playing so far back at second base. 1-0 with a go-ahead run at third. Runner takes off to second, and they let him go. It's a strike call. So that takes away the force play, obviously, at second base. And you may be saying, well, big deal. Well, it could be a big deal on a ball back up through the middle or a ball in the hole that's short.
You see the great jump. No one cared about Cirillo. Won't get a stolen base. They'll call it indifference.
That one in the dirt. And it's 2-1 on Uribe.
Tom, here's what you're talking about. If you could drop down a bunt with the guy on third base, all you have to do is get a little bunt right past Nen there. Kent has too far to run over to get it. Gallaraga's going to have to go in and get it. And then you walk to first base because no one is going to be at first base in order to field the ball. If someone goes to field it, no one covers first.
And a ground ball back up through the middle. Aurelia throws, and it's in time to end the inning. What a play by Aurelia. When the ball left the bat, it looked like they would never get Uribe. But they get him by a step. A huge play by the Giants shortstop.
Up to make the throw even before he catches the ball. That's what makes that play. Good strong throw going away from the ball. Unbelievable play to save a run in that inning by Rich Aurelia, and then he leads off the next inning.
And he'll be facing Justin Spire, who comes on replacing Hampton out of the Rockies bullpen. Hampton will stand and watch from a dugout as Aurelia leads it off, and he pops it up on the first pitch. Foul territory, Fasano with room. And Aurelia is hurt.
He took a bad swing there. He fell down in the box. Let me see a replay and see exactly what happened. Wow, he was looking at the way the ball went up in the air, and something's wrong with one of his legs there.
Oh, it looked like he rolled over that left ankle a little bit after he planted. We'll show it to you again.
Sal Fasano coming right into your living room to make that play.
Now Jeff Kent 0 for 3 in the game, and he fouled that one off his foot. Watch the left foot, the left ankle.
And he takes his stride towards the ball. Looks like maybe just rolled that out over a little bit, opened it up.
Although it looks like they're working on his right side. Stan Conti, the Giant trainer.
Doesn't look like a growing issue, although he was very spread out when he took that stride, and then we might have done something funny to his knee or ankle as he was looking up to see where the foul ball was going. Another guy in this Giant lineup that you cannot afford to have him out of there. Looks like he's all right.
0-1 to Kent. And it's outside, a ball and a strike. Gallaraga would be next. And then a pinch hitter for the pitcher. Actually, they made the double switch on, pardon me, when Nen came in, so it would be Marvin Bernard. So the numbers on Hampton. Come back to the mound. Spire throws out Kent, 2 away. Wow. Spire. The ball got hit back to him a little slower than he expected. It was like they hit him a changeup. Caught the ball, put his name on the thing. Took him forever to throw it over there and then threw a bullet at Elton. That would scare me. Andres Gallaraga has entered the game with a home run already as a Giant. He'd love to do it right now with 2 away in the bottom of the 9th of this 1-1 game. 0-1 down low. You saw the left-hander Mike Myers, and he is getting loose for the man who waits on deck, Marvin Bernard.
And there's no question at this point in the game, a lot of home run hitters will tell you, well, I don't think about home runs. Big Cat's thinking about a home run. Power hitters hit for power. They're paid to drive in runs. They're paid to hit the ball out of the park. This is the premier position to be in if you're a guy that can do it, and you start thinking a little bit more about it. Sails away, 3 balls and no strikes. 1 run, 3 hits. No errors, 6 left for Colorado. The Giants 1 run, 4 hits. No errors, and they've left 4 men on base. And don't think he's taken right now. If he sees a strike he wants, he'll swing. And he does. Into left center field. And a walk-off home run for Gallaraga. You said it, Steve. 3-0 green light all the way for a guy who can end it on 1 crack of the bat. The only Giants walk-off home runs this season have been hit by Gallaraga. Well, I think I'm a little bit more like a fan than an ex-player when it comes to that kind of a feeling. But when you come up, as I mentioned before, when you're a power hitter, you're looking to hit the ball out of the park. And when you get 3-0 in that situation, you are not taking. Look at the balance. Look at Gallaraga gets out in front just a little bit. But with his kind of strength, he knew it when he hit it. You see the big smile. That's his trademark. You can forget about it.
So the Giants, so desperately needing a win here today after losing in the opener, tie it in the 8th. They win it in the 9th. So San Francisco remains a game and a half behind the Cubs. In the wild card race, they've temporarily anyhow picked up a half game on Arizona in the National League's Western Division race. 2-1 Giants, and Gallaraga gives us our Lotriman great feat of the game. Is there anything better than this for a ball player?
There is no better feeling in the game than this moment right there. And there he is. I mean, is there anybody in the game that smiles